Yes, ma'am. So here we started section, we need to start section 51. So the next topic we need to see is TDS and TCS. Whereas with respect to TDS and TCS, initially we need to start with the TDS, but keep it in mind the topic in your income tax is completely different from our topic of TDS here. That TDS is a different story. So many number of sections you need to remember, but here GST is actually in comparison with income tax, it is actually very easy to remember, only one section 51 that deals with TDS, short and sweet. GST is always. So the lengthy sessions will not be there. Okay. So with respect to this section 51, tax deducted at source. In order to apply section 51, what are the sections we need? What are the conditions we are required to be satisfied? The contract value must be more than 2.5 lakhs. The contract value must be more than 2.5 lakhs. Okay. And who should be the recipient? Specified recipients. Recipient must be a specified recipient. In those cases, what will be applicable? TDS will be applicable. Sir, who are those specified recipients? CG or SG, no logo. That means central government, state government. NO means notified persons. LO means local authority. GO means government agencies. So who are those notified persons? Any authority, board or any other body set up under the Act of Parliament, where the government is having more than or equal to 51% of the voting power. Society established by the government, PSUs. In total, what we can say is 1, 2, 3 plus 3. Total 6 persons will be the specified recipients. Simply if the recipient is government. What is the summary of those 6 points, If the recipient is government or government related persons and the contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs, in those cases, the concept of TDS will be applicable. So, what are those government notified persons? Central government, state government, local authority, government agency, or the establishments where the government is having more than or equal to 51% of voting power, where the society established by the government, and third one, PSUs, public sector undertakings. In written total, 6 cases. If the recipient is these specified recipients, what will be applicable, The concept of this TDS will be applicable. The recipient must be the specified recipients and the contract price is more than 2.5 lakhs. In those cases, what will be applicable, TDS is applicable. But in our TDS chapter, recipient is known as deductor and the supplier is known as deductee. In our in the TDS chapter, recipient is known as deductor and supplier is known as deductee. Okay. And these recipients who are TDS deductors, I think you are able to recollect your childhood days in CMA Inter. You are required to take the compulsory registration as per section 24. In CMA Inter, this chapter was there, So the recipient is known as deductor and the supplier is known as deductee. If the supplier is known as deductee and recipient is known as deductor, that means these government notified agencies are known as TDS deductors. And the contractor who is doing the contract for government is known as TDS deductee. And these TDS deductors are required to take the compulsory registration as per section 24. And what is the TDS they need to deduct, 2%. That means CGST 1% and SGST 1%. On which value? On the invoice value or supply value? Taxable value. That means on the value of supply, you are required to deduct that 2%. My question is here, let's say, the contract price, let's say, suppose for example, the value of the particular contract is 2,40,000, and on that GST, for example, 10% was there. In that case, TDS provisions applicable or will not be applicable, ma? We need to, that means the straightforward question is here, inclusive of GST we shall consider, or exclusive of GST we shall consider the 2.5 lakhs. This is a straightforward question. Is it exclusive of GST or inclusive of GST we need to consider? Exclusive. See, the total value of taxable supply, excluding the taxes leviable under GST, is more than 2.5 lakhs. Under a single contract, TDS is required to be deducted. That means while computing the 2.5 lakhs threshold limit, GST will be excluded. Excluding the GST, the value of the contract is more than 2.5 lakhs, then only TDS provisions will be applicable. Another point here, ma'am, the contract value is 3 lakhs. But the amount is to be paid in 3 installments. For each installment, a separate invoice is going to be issued. In that case, TDS applicable or not applicable? Repeating the question once again. The contract value is 3 lakhs. The payment is going to be made in 3 installments. For each installment, a separate invoice was there. In that case, TDS provisions applicable or not applicable? Applicable or not applicable, ma? Definitely TDS provisions will not be applicable. Is the wrong answer. Definitely TDS provisions will be applicable under a single contract. How many number of invoices that were issued is not the criteria here. That is the second point. See this. Value is to be checked total contract wise and not single invoice wise. If the contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs, tax deduction is required irrespective of single invoice value or multiple invoices are there. That means whether TDS is going to be deducted or not is not based on invoice value. It is based on contract value. That is the thing you need to remember. Okay. Next one. Who are liable? Already we saw this point. 6 people: central government, state government, local governments, government agencies, where the establishments government is having more than or equal to 51% of the voting power, whereas the next one is society established by the government, and PSUs, public sector undertakings. So this next point. Sir, if at all any supply that happens between these 6 members, 6 notified persons, in those cases the concept of TDS will not be applicable. In those cases the concept of TDS will not be applicable. No TDS if the supply is made between the above persons only. Means between one PSU to another PSU, or whereas one government department to another government department, like that any internal matters are there, in those cases TDS provisions will not be applicable. And in the same way, with respect to Ministry of Defense also, TDS provisions not applicable. Because for national security, that's why any contractor who is making supplies to the government, let's say for example, HAL was there, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. It is providing to Indian government warplanes. Warplanes is manufactured by that person. And BDL is there, Bharat Dynamics Limited. It will produce the missiles. Those are actually providing defense related items to the government. That's why definitely what is the position? While those contracts are there, even though each missile will cost crores, more than 2.5 lakhs the contract price, but still TDS provisions will not be applicable to the defense companies, what we discussed. Next one. Sir, what is the procedure of deducting the GST? That means when TDS is needed to be deducted, deduction at the time of payment or when the amount is created in the bank, whichever is earlier. Just like the time of supply, date of payment will be there. Same point applicable here also. Deduction when the TDS is going to be deducted, at the time of making the payment or when the amount is created in the bank account, whichever is earlier. Sir, TDS is applicable on advances also. Yes, TDS is applicable on advances of supply of the goods or service. Keep that point in mind. With respect to time of supply, I think in the morning session or something, yesterday evening, we had one point on time of supply. With respect to goods, when advance is received, we are not liable to pay any GST. But with respect to services, when we receive them, definitely we are required to pay the GST. We discussed that point. No? Goods related advances, we are not liable to pay any GST. Services related advances, we are liable to pay GST. Okay. But with respect to TDS, where the advance is in relation to goods or advance is in relation to service, it does not matter. In both cases, TDS provisions will be applicable. In both cases, TDS provisions will be applicable. Okay, fine. So the next one will be, after deducting the TDS, what is the procedure? Actually, yes, this is the total story. Now, just in a graphical representation, we just made that. Okay, I just want to show you the procedure, how it will happen. First, this is the topic what we have discussed. That means the supplier is called as deductee, and whether it is a supply of the goods or services, in both cases TDS is applicable, where the contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. Then while computing that, excluding the GST, that's why GST is there in red color, we need to consider that on that we are liable to deduct the TDS, and the recipients are actually 6 points. 3 specified, 3 notified. 3 specified, government, local authority, government agency. Unnotified, authority where the government is having more than or equal to 51% of voting power. Society, PSUs. But relaxations, Ministry of Defense, one PSU to another PSU, and both are actually internal matters. In those cases, TDS is not required. Now, that means what is the stage of deduction? Date of payment or when the amount is credited, whichever is earlier. And what is the rate of TDS amount? 2%. On which value? Invoice minus GST. That means on the taxable value, we are required to deduct the TD. Up to this point, we just come see. This is the step you need to see. Once TDS was deducted by the TDS deductor, pay TDS over the portal. That means the GST website will be there now. Who is required to pay that? Deductor. What is the due date? Generally, you need to pay the tax on monthly basis on next month 10th. That means whatever the TDS that was deducted in the month of June, it must be deposited with the government on or before July 10th. Okay. Manner of payment, pay through challan. The payment will be credited to the e-cash ledger of the deductor. Once the payment is done by the deductor, that is, let's say PSU, deducted the amount. Now, once PSU deposited the amount with the government on or before next month 10th, the amount will be credited to the deductor's PSU account, cash ledger. Okay. Next, what this person will do, PSU? The second step is this fellow will file TDS return. What is the form number? GSTR 7. And the due date also remains the same. Payment as well as return both are having the same date. For depositing the TDS, next month 10th. For filing the return GSTR 7 also, next month 10th. Once TDS return was filed, TDS certificate must be issued. Na? Generally, whenever TDS is deducted, a certificate will be given. TDS certificate GSTR 7A, it will be issued to the concerned deductor. That means supplier within 5 days. Okay. Once the amount is paid, next see this. Once GSTR 7 was paid, it will be communicated to the, once the GSTR 7 was filed, automatically it will be communicated to the deductee. And on the dashboard, it will be reflected TDS and TCS receivable. Dashboard means, what is meant by the word dashboard much generally? When by using user ID password, if at all you log in to that particular portal or website, what is the first screen that appear on the monitor? That one is known as dashboard. In the dashboard, it will be just like blinking. something like this, TDS and TCS, new one or something, it will be blinking like this. Okay, TDS and TCS receivable. Once the party, that means the contractor, accepted that, the amount will be credited to the cash ledger of that deductee, that is the supplier. This is the way how the things will operate. First, he will pay the TDS to the government. After that, he will file the GSTR 7. Once this fellow files the GSTR 7, it will be communicated to the deductee in the form of TDS and TCS receivable on the dashboard of this deductee. If the deductee accepts that, the amount will be transferred to the cash ledger of that deductee. That is the answer. This is the way how the things will operate. Okay, ma? Now, is it okay now how the procedure is going to be? Now, let's come to our session now. Yes, this is the point what we are discussing. After deducting the TDS, deductor to pay to the government via challan, already we discussed, and file the TDS return GSTR 7 by the 10th of the next month, which will be made available to the deductee and credited to his e-cash ledger after validation. This is the thing you saw in the chart there. Okay. And he will issue the TDS certificate in GSTR 7A within 5 days of depositing the TDS to the government. And this is the TDS certificate format, not required for the exam. These are the details that will be there in TDS certificate. Certificate number, deductor GST number, name of the deductor, deductee GST number, legal name, trade name, for which period GSTR 7 was filed, what are the supplies, how much TDS deducted. By mentioning this, a certificate will be issued. This one is known as TDS certificate. For the exam purpose, not required. And the deductor or the deductee can claim the refund of excess or erroneous deduction. However, if the deducted amount is already credited to the cash ledger of the supplier, the same shall not be refunded. What is its sentence meaning? Let's say, generally if the supply is an exempted supply, is it required to deduct the TDS? If the supply is an exempted supply, is it required to deduct the TDS? No. Whenever there is a need to pay the GST, there arises the liability for TDS. If at all it is an exempted supply, there is no need to deduct the TDS because there is no need to pay any GST. But by mistake, that PSU deducted the TDS. Is it possible to get it as a refund? That TDS is known as erroneous deduction. That deduction is known as erroneous. That means by mistake, unintentionally what was happened is erroneous deduction. Is it possible to claim it back, which is paid to the government? Yes, generally refund is allowed either to the deductor or to the deductee if it or it is a erroneous one. But already return was filed, amount was credited to supplier cash ledger, then refund will not be given. Because if refund is given, it is a double benefit. Already the cash is there with you now. In your account only it was there. You can claim the cash amount as refund directly by filing it in GSTR 3B. If at all the amount is there in electronic cash ledger, straight away you can claim it as refund. Already the amount is there with you, then what is the need of refund then? That's why no double benefit is allowed. I'm repeating the sentence once again. Even though TDS is not required to be deducted, but it was deducted, this is called erroneous deduction. With respect to this erroneous deduction, refund application can be filed either by the deductor or by the deductee, then refund will be granted to him. But meanwhile, this refund application is going to be filed. Before that, already deductor filed GSTR 7. Based on that receipt, this deductee has claimed that amount in his electronic cash ledger. Already the amount is there with deductee itself. In that case, refund of that amount is not allowed. Technically, it is a double benefit. That is the sentence. Now read the sentence. The deductor or deductee can claim refund of excess or erroneous deduction. Refund is allowed. However, if the deducted amount is already credited to the cash ledger of the supplier, the same shall not be refunded. Once it was already there with you, then what is the need of refund there? Already మన దగ్గరే ఉన్నప్పుడు మళ్ళీ దాన్ని మనం రిఫండ్ క్లెయిమ్ చేయడం పాసిబుల్ అమ్మా? నాట్ పాసిబుల్. దట్ ఈస్ ఇట్ సెంటెన్స్ మీనింగ్. ఓకే మా, కెన్ ఐ ప్రొసీడ్ టు ద నెక్స్ట్ పాయింట్? ఓకే. Sir, if at all there is any delay in filing GSTR 7, any late fee is required to be filed. Sir, any late fee is required to be paid. Yes, ma. The late fee will be 100 rupees per day, subject to a maximum of 5,000 rupees. Under CGST, similar amount will be there under SGST. So the total late fee will be per day 200, subject to a maximum of 5,000. Sorry, 10,000. నెక్స్ట్ వన్. ఏమైనా అంతే, 10,000 కదా అయ్యేది. కరెక్ట్గా చెప్పానుగా, ఏమన్నాను? 10,000 అన్నానా? పర్ డే 200 కదా. పర్ డే 100 CGSTలో, SGSTలో ఇంకొక 100 ఉంది కదా. 100 + 100 200 కదా. మరి అదే కదా నేను ఉంది. 200 అన్నానా? మరి కరెక్టేగా. ఓకే, 200 ఎక్కడి నుంచి వచ్చిందనా? ఓకే. So, Seema, late fee with respect to CGST Act, it is 100. With respect to SGST Act, another 100. CGST plus SGST means total late fee will be 200 per day, or 5,000 plus 5,000, 10,000. That is the point I told you. That's why that point is there now. Similar amount under SGST or UTGST, that is the late fee. Sir, if TDS is required to be deducted, but he did not deduct the TDS, in that case, are there any consequences? Yes, that TDS, failure to deduct the TDS or pay the TDS to the government. If at all there is any failure to deduct the TDS or pay the TDS to the government, this TDS is needed to be paid along with interest. Otherwise, recovery proceedings can be initiated under 73 or 74. What is this recovery proceedings? First, the business stock will be sold, goods, etc. If at all it is not sufficient, business fixed assets will be sold. If at all it is also not sufficient, in personal, movable assets, except wife and children, will be sold. Wife is a permanent liability and children are future assets. Therefore, except them, rest of the movable assets will be sold. Still not sufficient, immobile property. Still not sufficient, you will be put in a place where Lord Krishna was born, and definitely for you Chinese food will be provided free of cost. Cockroach sambar, like that, etc. Where Lord Krishna was born, ma'am? Jail, imprisonment. This is a total story. Chinese food, famous Chinese food will be there in that. Okay. Okay, these are called recovery proceedings, ma. That means as per 73 or 74, first business assets, later on personal assets, still not sufficient, imprisonment. All these things comes under recovery proceedings. If TDS along with interest is not paid, then these are the legal consequences that will follow the recovery proceedings. And no TDS in the following cases: nil rated supplies, exempted supplies, non-taxable supplies. What is the difference between these three? What is the difference between these three? Nil rated means levy at the rate of 0%. Exempted, levy at a specified rate but no collection. Non-taxable, no levy at all. These are called, what we call them, exempted. Technically, in all these cases, we are not liable to pay any GST. That's why no TDS was there. In all these cases, we are not liable to pay any GST. That's why there is no TDS. And transactions on which tax is paid under RCM, why TDS is not there? With respect to RCM, 100% of the tax is needed to be paid by the recipient. Then what is the logic of applying 2% there? Recipient is nothing but deductor, na? Under TDS provisions, recipient will deduct 2%. When RCM is applicable, 100% of the tax is needed to be paid by the recipient. When recipient is paying 100% of the tax, is there any logic in applying TDS provisions? No, that is the point. Next, tax invoice issued before 1/10/2018 नाम के वास्ते. From this particular date, TDS came into scene. Section. TDS section came into scene from 1/10/2018 ma. Before that, no TDS was there na. That is the point. And this one we will discuss later on. It was their table. Payment made to unregistered supplier. Why it is not required ma? Because supplier is unregistered, therefore is not liable to pay any GST. The supplier is unregistered, we are not required to pay any GST. In those cases, there is no liability to deduct the TDS also. Na? That is the point. Okay. And now come to this point here. See the table. Where is the location of the supplier? Where is the location of the supplier? State A. Where is the place of supply? State A. Where is the location of recipient? Keep it in mind, ma. Location of recipient and place of supply need not be same. Location of recipient, place of supply, both need not be the same. Best example, a general example I will tell you. Let's say for example, I just went to Tirumala and stayed in Tirumala actually first, okay, initially, okay, Tirupati we stayed in. And there was actually, when we are there in Tirupati, they will give you some apartments, service apartments will be there. Along with freeze stove, they will give it to you and you can cook there. Okay, I just actually hired that particular service apartment because I need to stay there for some 3 to 4 days. And we can take the vegetables and we can make our own food there. Everything will be available. Okay, so I used that particular facility. But see, for example, one day, we don't have that mood to cook there. In that case, by using Zomato, I just booked from one of the hotel. I can't remember exactly. He just supplied us some different idli ma. Still I remembered some different taste was there actually. Tamil based hotel was there. And it's not idli actually. It's from different item it was made. I can't say exactly. Yes. No. Yes. No, something they will supply me. It's not a idli, just like idli. Some different Tamil item, I can't remember. Okay, I used that, but what is that, right? Prakash? Something, yes, that is the name, somebody told. Idiyappam, yes. It just looked like idli. Whether it is idli or not, I don't know. Okay, so I just ordered that particular item and okay, little bit good that one. Here, if you observe Zomato, what is my recipient location? Guntur. Because all my address, everything, when I register in Zomato, what is the address ma? Guntur. Location of recipient Guntur. What is the place of supply? So definitely it is not required every time that location of recipient and place of supply must be the same. Sometimes location of recipient can be different. Place of supply can also be different. That's why please remember that word. Place of supply is different from location of recipient. Okay, fine. So location of supplier, state A. Place of supply, state A. Location of recipient, state A. Which type of supply now it is? Intra. We need to check only LOS and POS. LOS means location of supplier. POS means place of supply. So both are there in state A. In that case, is it intra or inter? Intra-state. What is needed to be paid? CGST 1% and SGST 1% TDS applicable. Let's come to second one. Where is the location of supplier? State A. Where is the POS? State A. Where is the location of recipient? State B. In that case, is it possible to deduct the TDS? Technically, you said LOS, POS are there in same state. Therefore, it is intrastate supply. For example, I just put the word state A as Andhra Pradesh, state B as Telangana, Karnataka you want to say? Okay, Karnataka. Why you want to go to Bangalore? You just came from Bangalore. You did not. Which SGST? AP SGST. Where is the recipient? Is it possible to get the ITC of AP SGST by this recipient who is there in Karnataka? No, that's why TDS will not be applicable. LOS, POS in one state, but register office of the recipient is there in some other state, then the concept of TDS provisions will not be applicable. See the third one. Where is the location of supplier? State A. Where is the place of supply? State B. Where is the location recipient? State B. In that case, happily you can apply interstate supply IGST. See, because in such case, supplier would charge CGST and SGST of state A, whereas recipient would deduct CGST and SGST of state B. So set off won't be possible. That's why in those cases, TDS provisions will not be applicable. This is the story with respect to TDS. As simple, I told you, now income tax is different from our TDS here. Okay, I think you copied up to this point now. Okay. Procedure. This one you copied now in the morning session. No TDS. From here onwards, you need to copy. This one. Okay. Zoom already zoomed in the morning session itself. That's why at that time you copied this central state. Not copied that. Okay. So heading is over. Person liable to deduct the TDS. Wow. What is the use of GST? Government will get the revenue. That's why in order to get some early revenue, just like nowadays pre-wed shoot is there, before marriage some advantage will be there for you. Just like that, in TDS government will get 2% in advance. Remaining 98% will be paid later on. This is nothing but advance tax, one type of, that's it. No other benefit. Nothing was there. Any other? Pre-wedding shoot you want to ask me? I don't know about that. Because for me only chasing shooting is there.